Welcome back to the Situation Podcast.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Just as a recap, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Ziad.
Tonight on the Situation Podcast, we're going to be looking at a very, very interesting situation. The situation tonight, Ziad, is the Negroni.
And the meaning behind the Negroni.
Indeed. What is a Negroni? Where does it come? Why is it yet so simple, yet so hard? These are some of the points that we're going to talk about. And I guess when we talk about Negroni, it's one of the things that, why do we like a Negroni? And I think we've got to go back in history a little bit first, Ziad, before we move forward.
Yeah.
Back to Doha. Do you remember Doha?
Yeah. It was a hectic week. Lots of things happening, lots of things going on. And, work is just overwhelming. And in the back of your head, you're just thinking the weekend. And I think this is something that we all relate to. The weekend.
We do. And I remember the end of the week, and Ziad came over to my apartment in Doha. I was at Moshareba, and I said, I'm going to make you a drink. And he said, what is it? And I said, it's a Negroni. And he said, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like that. And I said, well, let me make it. And let's start with a couple of the basics on Negroni. How do you make a Negroni, Ziad? What's the formula?
Well, from what I was taught from Anthony, it's basically gin, Campari, and vermouth.
So in barman's terms, it's one shot, one shot, one shot. It's simple and it's easy. There's different types, but today's not about how to make it. Although put down in the comments if you want to know how to make an Anton Negroni, because you've got your traditional Negroni, you've got your Sicilian Negroni. There is many types of Negronis.
And the problem, that me and Anthony, find in at least the bars that we go to Dubai, is that bartenders tend to not really know how to make a Negroni, although it's very simple how to do it. We're gonna get to that at some point, but before that, we're gonna get to the meaning of why do you need a Negroni?
Yeah.
What happens to you over the week that makes you reach the weekend with a feeling?
It sounds to me. It sounds to me that you've reached.
Yes,
that
I
point.
have reached the feeling.
Let's go through a couple of the basics. Why then, Ziad? Tell us. Tell our viewers exactly why.
Why? Because the Negronis represent calm, peace. Means
cheers,
brother.
Cheers, brother. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It's not just the end of the week as well, but it's not as easy as what you might think. So you get to the end of the week. Brother Z is telling us here he's arrived at the end of the week. But how you make these things is really hard. It's really difficult. Tell us and the viewers, Ziad, a little bit about the difference between perhaps coming here at Bar Antone's to have a Negroni or going out. How does that work?
I just came back from Jordan, for example, and I went to several bars and pubs, and every time I tell someone, make me a Negroni, and funny enough, they give me the look of I got it. Comes back to me, automatically when I see the color, it's not the right color. It's just faded. It looks pale. And then I look at it, I sniff it. Again, it's not the smell.
There's nothing worse than sniffing it and
it's a sniffing situation
and not getting the satisfaction you need.
Yeah.
I mean, I can make a comment here. And one of the things that we do here at the Situation Podcast is that we like to explore different parts of each of these elements. And what makes the situation is, in this case, how do bars make a Negroni? How do they make a Negroni, Ziad?
Recently, from what we've seen and what we've experienced, none of the bartenders know how to make a Negroni because they think it's going to be done in the typical way. You think a cocktail is like mixing gin, Campari, vermouth. So you're mixing 3 different types of alcohol, which means I'm going to stir, for example. There's no stirring.
No, so what they do is they get a large glass pitcher and they fill it full of ice and they pour the nip of gin, the nip of Campari, and the nip of vermouth, and they put it in the glass and they get their large stirring spoon and away they go. So what they're doing is they're watering down the Negroni. Now, I've been lucky enough. I've spent some time in front of bars and behind bars in my career, and of course, this ice tall glass stirring structure destroys the taste. But this is pretty common. I think it's a situation we've both experienced. And
It
when
is.
you're paying the dirhams, the dollars, the euros, the costs that you pay at the end of the week, and we've just identified that, you want it to be delivering on the promise.
100%.
But I mean, one of the things about making a Negroni is like here at the Situation Podcast, we're very particular about things because we know these drinks, these moments in your life, they're important, and you want them to be the best they can be. So in some cases, and Brother Z will agree with me here, in some cases, we've had to perhaps suggest to some of the bar tenders, the cocktail makers, how they might like to make the Negroni.
And that has been a situation on its own.
Well, what's been your experience in that?
I mean, no
Brother Z?
one loved it. You know, I'm gonna tell you my experience. You know, and you're gonna notice on this podcast that we actually like talking to you guys. This is the type of the podcast. It's not a podcast where me and Anthony just look at each other and talk to each other. It's a more of like a conversation. We talk to each other.
Yeah, it's
but
a community.
yeah, exactly. We want to
community.
have people, you know, coming and joining this conversation. So I was in Jordan, for example, last week. I went to this bar. Jordan has bars, by the way, you know, and I tell him a Negroni. Obviously, this is not the first typical thing that you would ask of a bartender in Jordan, but it's like, yeah, I'll make it. Comes back, he makes it. Obviously, it's not a Negroni. It's like a juice kind of thing. Doesn't make sense. But anyways, I drank it, and then
What did you say though? Like when it arrived. Let's get
you have
down.
to, you have to get.
We're all about open and honest here. We're open and honest here on the Situation Podcast. What did you say when the drink came?
Well, I mean,
What did you say?
I want to try to promote. Jordan is an amazing country.
Jordan is an amazing, amazing place.
Everyone should visit. Whatever is mentioned on the podcast doesn't mean anything. It's just
hashtag Jordan, hashtag visit. But what did you say when the Negroni came?
I mean, I was like, this is. I choked actually because it wasn't done properly, and it's funny that this story is so true to the fact that I actually choked, and I was like, what is this?
So we're moving on to the next part of the conversation here at the Situation Podcast, and that's the attitude, because what I have experienced is what I were labeling the bar attitude. Now, I've been traveling a little bit recently as well, and yeah, and like I've been lucky. I've spent some time in Italy. I've spent some time in Sicily. I've worked behind cocktail bars for many years, and I think I can make a nice Negroni, a good Negroni.
You do. I actually wait. I have to stop you there. I honestly think, and this is not because Antoine is a close friend of mine. I mean, I might be subjective, but he actually does the best Negronis.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother.
But what I want to talk about now is what we're describing as the not happy moment. So you see them making the drink, and you're sitting there, and it's a fine line between arrogance and suggestion. And the line between arrogance and suggestion, look, you know, I'm not sure how that goes, but I mean, we're doing our best now. As we've been, we're multi international
Yeah.
travelers. But I've had a pleasant experience in Thailand recently where the drink came and the Negroni was not good. Yeah, as Ziad was saying. So I said, look, do you mind if I show you how perhaps you might like to make it? And this was very well received. However, that's not always the case, is it, Ziad?
And from my personal experience, bartender comes in, and then suddenly there's an entourage of like waiters standing next to me, just waiting for me to say what the Negroni feels like, and I was like, "It's not great." And there was a moment of silence.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I mean, we all love customer feedback, and customer feedback is a situation podcast that's coming, and we've all experienced that. Everyone wants a rating 1 to 9, 1 to 7, 1 to 10, and all those sorts of things. But the attitude and not being happy is it's a funny thing. Let's go back to what we were talking about a minute ago. You're at the end of a long week and you want a nice drink, right? And you go in and you order a Negroni, and it's supposed to be so simple. It's supposed to be simple, right? One shot, one shot, one shot. But you know, of course, in Italy, which is the home of the Negroni, you make the Negroni in the glass. You don't make it in a vessel, in a tumbler, in a jug, and then you pour it in. But Ziad, what I want to ask you is an important question.
Tell me, Antoine.
And this is one that you can comment on. You put your comment in down below because you know we have our ideas, but I'm going to ask you, brother Z, where do you get a good Negroni here in Dubai?
I would say, honestly, a good Negroni is at Barbucci in Al Qasr Hotel.
I think Barbucci is a
Yeah.
very good Negroni. It's one that you can rely on if you're depending on where you are. I think you can certainly head down there and enjoy.
But we have to
enjoy
be
that.
we have to be very specific,
Go.
because we don't want people to actually go to Barbucci and then eventually, because remember that day, which is actually yesterday, where we had a drink at Barbucci and the Negroni wasn't great.
Yeah.
And then we discovered that it wasn't done by the same bartender. You know, when when you go to a barber, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys, most probably Middle Easterns, will understand what I mean. When you go to a barber, you want the same barber. For me, for example,
Yeah, of
Antoine,
course. Yeah, of
I
course.
have my barber. He cuts my hair. It's
Mm.
not like I go randomly to any person.
You're not a barber slut.
I'm not.
What you like to do is you go back to the same person every time. Correct?
Exactly.
Why? Why do you go
Because
back?
this guy understands my look, my feel, even if I look like shit, even if I look good, but he understands it.
Yeah, I understand that.
And this is exactly what I mean about the Negroni. We have the bartender.
But there's many good bartenders out there, and the thing about the Situation podcast, and this is what we want you to understand, is that when we talk about situations, it's about what we experience. So if you've had a great experience or you've got a great bar, then let us know, because this is what it's about. Like every day we, we go through situations, whether it's a drink, whether it's a and stand by for the next couple of pods that we're going to drop, because we're exploring a whole range of different things
Yeah.
that occur. Some are funny, some are not so funny. I can tell you for one thing for sure, that when it comes down to Negroni, and like tonight we're having a quiet Negroni recording the pod, and we're looking to look at the Situation podcast to open up this Ziad. We're trying to open up a conversation about what it means to work through these parts of what we do. Now, look, I don't even know whether we want to go there tonight. Do we want to go there?
I mean, at the end of the day, for me, this episode is not really about Negronis. I mean, I've been living in Dubai. Dubai, sorry, can even feel my.
You've got the dust, there's a sandstorm
It's
happening
about
in
the
the
work.
background.
You know, I've
And
been
this is
working.
exactly when you need to have a little sip of a Negroni.
So
Every
deeper.
situation represents something that we are trying to make a comment on. And like the last thing we want to do is come on here
And be boring.
and talk about stuff in a negative way. Everything is positive. In the next pod we're going to drop, we're talking about sound, we're talking about issues,
Music.
we're talking about what the situation is. So anyway, let's wrap this up now tonight, Brother Z. If I was to say to you one question, one simple question, what makes a good Negroni?
Good company, my friend.
Exactly.
Good company.
And that's what we're talking about.
I mean, I'm loving it.